Check, check, check. Okay, there we go. We're off to a great start here. Welcome to the KSL. I'm Tasis, joined with me is Artosis, and we continue the saga on, man.
If you say
the
so.
Journey to crowning a champion here.
Yeah.
Today's games are going to kick ass. We're the only StarCraft event that's going on right now, so do tell your friends to join us and tune in.
Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
We only have 3 more weeks as well. We're getting right through it. Today we're doing all
right.
the decider matches. Tomorrow we're doing the whole round of 8.
Yes. Today's going to be fun. We had a long road to get to where we are now, going through the group stages, and we're finally past all that. And look, I'm loving the games that we've had so far. It's good that we have something StarCraft-related happening post-BlizzCon in the off-season.
Yeah.
Get a little bit of our fix in there.
Indeed. Very nice stuff. The games so far, like you mentioned, they've been quite good.
Yes.
We've had a lot of close series, a lot of very interesting games and strategies coming out. Today, of course, with our 4 best of 5s, figuring out these 4 players that will go up, I feel like there's clear favorites in like 3 of the matches at least.
Yeah. Do you have anybody you're looking for specifically today that you're
Well,
excited about?
I'm excited for Mind and Sorry, but I think both of them are in a hard spot.
Yeah. Sorry looked good, but I don't know that he is. I don't know.
Does he beat Snow good? Probably not, right?
Probably not, but I mean, almost no player really is beat Snow good. So it's going to be tough. There is a chance you have some very lopsided matches. We'll see, though. We've actually had plenty of upsets in this KSL. I guess not just this season, but last season as well.
Well, the new crowd is rising up. A lot of great new players out there. The metagame is changing really pretty swiftly as well, more quickly than it has in the past. So, yeah, I mean, just about anything could happen today.
Yeah, it's been really fun, especially when we started this tournament off, since anybody can try to qualify for KSL, to see the transformation in styles and build orders from the very early qualifying rounds into the group section, and as we get closer and closer to the finals, to see what really a top-tier player looks like.
Mm-hmm. Well, our first match here today going to be Modesty against Mind.
Yeah.
But, well, Kukulza
is the ID he's using.
Against Mind.
I think for our sake, we're going to be saying Modesty Mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he'll change the ID back, I don't know, in a season or 2, because that's how it goes every single time. Been out here for over 10 years, seen it plenty of times.
This is a funny thing about Korea. The Korean casters, when StarCraft first came out, would refer to the players by their Korean names. Now, the global scene that would follow identified the players by their IDs. And so when StarCraft 2 came out, there was this whole issue where the players were constantly changing their IDs, unaware that that was literally their brand. The non-Korean players didn't know the Korean players' names.
Yeah.
It's very rare to find anybody who knows any of the Korean players' names. And so, over time, the Korean players eventually stuck with one ID. But now that we're back here doing StarCraft 1, we're experiencing the same problem.
Yeah, some of these guys just want to change their ID for whatever reason. A lot of people look at it as a fresh start. I'm sure you at home have had that, where you have an ID and you lose too many games. You just did it the other day, I think.
Yeah, I just made a new ID.
I log on,
after I
Tasis
lost
has a
too much.
completely new ID on
Yes.
Battle.net. I'm like, okay, that's cool, Tasis, after lecturing the pro gamers.
If I'm in a tournament, I'll show up as tasteless, okay? So here's the prize pool. As you can see, a lot is on the line. First place taking home roughly $30,000. Our schedule, as you can see as well, we're getting closer and closer to the end here.
Yeah, we are very close to done at this point. Before December, we will be finishing. So our first map has always been Eddie for this round. It was just a random draw. And, of course, we have vetoes from both players. We don't have those as of yet for this first match.
Yeah, we'll be informed for that with that shortly here.
Yeah.
This is a best of 5, remember. So a lot of comeback potential here, although we've had, I would say, a fair amount of one-sided games. You know, in a best of 5, a lot of times one player is better than the other. It is a 3-0.
Yeah.
Quite often.
Here's what we've had so far. Of course, Group A and B, we were at BlizzCon for, so we didn't get to cast those. But
right.
I definitely got to check out those games and watch them, and those are some kind of interesting matches. Saxory versus Best I'm actually pretty excited for as far as the PvZ goes. Saxory has really been coming up lately, and obviously Best is like, if you don't love Best, like, you just don't even get it.
Oh, I mean, even if you're not a Protoss player, I think Best is really exciting to watch play. His macro's very good. He's got really solid approaches and fundamentals to all the matchups, but at the same time, he is willing to do something very crazy and risky too.
Yeah. Oh, no. Look at this. We've actually got what the brackets are going to end up looking like. Holy crap. Light's going to make round of 4. That's super sick.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it looks like he should, man.
Because I knew we were only going to have Light in this round, in round of 8 for Terrans, but now I see him going right to that semifinals. That's going to be a huge victory for him if he's able to do it.
Definitely looking forward to Rain versus Snow rematch, possibly inbound here, unless Sari really pulls off a miracle here.
That would be amazing. If Sari's able to beat Snow tonight, that would be very exciting. Some of these younger Terrans that aren't as good or well known have some very interesting TVP styles specifically.
Yeah.
If you look at JYJ or Ample, you'll find them playing a brand of TVP that is not very much like the actual top pros.
Yeah, that is very true. There's a lot of different approaches to that matchup, even though I think to the casual observer you might think it's a pretty solved and sorted matchup. Not the case at all. There's so many tricks that both races can do early on. To this day, I do find that maybe the most interesting matchup to me personally is PBT. There's so many cool little things you can pull off here.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting one.
Going into this, I'm also very curious about the Hyuk versus Zero match here.
Well, I mean, Hyuk was able to take out Zero previously in the group.
Yeah.
But then his match against Light was, well, it was something.
Yeah. Again, in that match that we had with those two Zerg players, it was a situation where it at least the start of it hinged on a lot of build order wins. The control was very good as well to make him beat Zero. So I wonder if Zero's going to come in here with a major adjustment, and Hyuk as well. He wins a certain way. It would be, I think, maybe a little bit foolish to try to win in the same manner in a best-of-5 rematch. So
yeah, it seems a little bit far-fetched.
Yeah, right. So we'll be going to that at the end of the day here.
But of course, again, our first match coming up here, this TVZ between Modesty and Mind. They've had a great match previously, ended in a 3-2. Now, I like Modesty's ZvT a lot. I actually like it more than Mind's TVZ. So I'm actually leaning towards Modesty taking this one, to be honest. But they've had a long time to prepare for it, right? They've had 2 weeks. So I think we're going to see some really fresh builds.
Kukulza. I always, when I see this new idea, I always want to call him Cthulhu, but... Now, wait, is Kukulza from something?
Kukulza? I'm sure it must be. I don't think he made that up. Sounds like a vampire or something.
It sounds like a vampire in the Caribbean.
Speaking of which, so I've mentioned before, my daughter and I play the StarCraft's mod for StarCraft 1.
Yeah.
We play it pretty often.
Yeah.
She calls Mutalisks bats.
Oh, they are bats. They got bat wings when you think about it.
She's right. That made me think of that.
You know that the artwork for StarCraft, for the Zerg specifically, the person who helped design that was the same person from Alien.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Ripley?
Yes. No, Ash.
Such a great movie.
I believe I'm correct on that. But a lot of that artwork was inspired. If it wasn't inspired, it was actually the guy. They talked to the guy and had his influence. Because, you know, the way the Hydralisk's head is shaped.
Yeah.
Kind of the ridginess of the Zerg and look. Very cool stuff. Anyways, we're going to hop onto the map, Eddie, to start this off. Again, it's a best of 5. It's now or never. One of these... All right, let's just start the game.
That little intro scene.
Yeah.
See the rock drop down and all the red minerals go into the spaceship hull.
Red minerals are here.
All I can think about is how would you ever stop Mutalisk harassment on that mineral line? There is no room for turrets.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have on the map Eddie. Bottom right is Modesty, a.k.a. Kukulza. Top right is Mind. Here we go.
Let's do this. Mind is a great player, but I think I want to say he's like mid-tier right now among all the pros.
It's a funny thing because he always alters between, like, for the last 3 years or so, He's altered between second best Terran and like fifth best Terran over and over, and then he took a little break for a bit. But he's like back at the top of the ladder and everything. Like, he's extremely, extremely good and very, very solid. And like, he's one of the only players that will actually make it relatively deep into these tournaments. But it's been a long time since I've watched mine and been like, oh, this is championship play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. He's looked good, but he's definitely made some pretty grave errors in his play. Occasionally he comes in here with a strategy where you can see the idea behind it, but a lot of times the execution is not so clean, or maybe it's a little bit anachronistic to the current meta. So let's see how he comes in here and how he plays today.
Yeah, you know, I don't really think of him as a micro Terran or a macro Terran. You know,
sure.
A lot of people fall into those, and I don't think of him as an aggressive Terran or a defensive Terran. He's pretty flexible overall. He's 8s on everything.
I like that.
Maybe a 10 on brain and an 8 on everything else.
Yeah. I actually think Modesty is like a very ideal opponent, though, for mine to go up against. I do think this is going to be our closest match. Really? I think it's maybe slightly Modesty favored.
Yeah, I feel like it is slightly Modesty flavored. Like we saw in that win. Yeah, flavored. Tastes like Kukulza. But yeah, I mean, his record didn't really do justice to how strong his ZvT is. He's a very, very, very good ZvT player, and he will bring great builds and really good Mutalisk micro. So
yeah,
I think that the sharpness of his play can be a little bit difficult at times for some of these Terrans to deal with.
Yeah, I agree with you. By the way, we've got a wall-in coming up here inside the main. Now, this can look like you're fast expanding here, but it's not the case at all. We actually have the factory being made over here. And he can pop out with a Vulture pretty quickly and come in here and put a little bit of pressure on.
Yeah, and of course, you know, that's something that you really have to take very, very seriously. Looks like Modesty is actually going to hide his third hatch over here. Yeah, look at that.
That's a very unusual.
Yeah, it's one of those spots where you'll probably scout it pretty late, so it could be very strong because of that. I'm interested to see, though, what strategy Mind uses. I'm pretty sure that Modesty is going to be aware that this is likely a factory, because that wall-in, otherwise, like, the Marines pop out on the outside. So if you're trying to go bio, you're just not going to be able to produce.
You know, getting the third base up and secured for the Zerg in any kind of ordinary ZvT is, I would say, the most important mission objective. If you could think of the game as a set of mission objectives in multiplayer, that really is one of the key things. If you're not intending to end it immediately, is to get the third base up, and it's much less about the minerals and much more about the gas. Having a third gas can allow you to support hive tech, and especially if you get a fourth or fifth gas up, that's when the Zerg is a real powerhouse.
Yeah, and that's especially important. Like, for instance, if you're playing against SK, it's a little slightly different when you're playing against some sort of mech play or something like that. Sometimes you need a lot of units with that. But let's see how Modesty wants to actually approach this. Looks like the SCV is running around kind of looking, seeing if it can find out where this other hatchery is.
Yeah, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, the Vulture coming down. Some nice pressure from mine.
And so the Vulture continues to come up here and poke. We got the Armory coming down here. And this is really interesting to see this coming out right now and what exactly we're going to have in store here. Because with this mech here, it's going to be very hard to ever kind of come in and breach this location on the far left. What is your take on Terran's position here? Because this is a little bit of a kind of off-color opening for me. Oh, hold on a second. Getting these two Vultures is huge.
Yeah, I mean, you got one. There's a wall up. Oh, God. Well, you got to not just land that, but probably bring something to repair. Anyways, it's just the Goliath build, right? So it's not bad. It comes down a lot to your execution, to your decision-making of what to do. Now, he's found that third base, but there's not a lot he can really do against it right now.
Seems like it. Is this a game where the Terran just wants to try to push into the natural and kill the main? Is that more important than trying to stamp out expansions everywhere?
100% with the Goliath build. Good call there, Tasteless. Generally, with the Goliath build, if you're trying to stamp out expansions, that's the wrong way to go about it. You want to hit very sharp, hard timings.
Yeah.
You want to move directly towards the main base and see if you can knock them out there. Basically, there will be the first move out, you'll have, what is it? It's like 8 to 10 Goliaths, and you're going to have an upgrade at that point, generally armor, but some people get attack. I don't know what's wrong with those people, but whatever. Yeah, and you're going to try to force them to continually make units, then you're going to move out again with a killing blow attack. A lot of times it has a couple siege tanks in it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken here, this is basically a build order that he gave up a little bit of economy to try to attack out with those vultures. It would have been, in fact, better had he just gone directly into expand and attack. Is that right? Is this push going to be a little bit weaker because of that?
No, I think the vulture play is all right. Like, for instance, he just scouted that there's a Hydralisk den, and that's really important to see right now. You know, you have to play quite differently if you're playing against Mutalisks or playing against Hydras, because Hydras have a timing they can hit and do the damage to you, right? If you don't have a bunker up or siege tanks or a nice concave Goliaths, whereas obviously if they go Mutas, you need to have some turrets up and your Goliaths in position for that. So I feel like Mind got done what he needed to get done with those vultures, even though they didn't do a lot of damage. And that's going to help him to make the right decisions moving forward here.
It is a funny thing, the Goliath, the nature of that unit against Zerg, where initially it's not really good against anything, but when it gets high enough in numbers, it can be incredibly strong against air or ground. It seems like that is because of the cost of the Goliath and the rate at which it comes out.
Yeah. So a Goliath builds in 25 seconds, so it's like relatively quick. It's very easy to macro out. You know, 100 minerals, 100 gas. Has the same build time as a supply depot, so it's like all you do is some simple math, and you're like, okay, I will never miss a Goliath. You know, it's not like vultures or something that gets very complicated. And it's just like a pretty good support, right? If you're like, let's say you're doing a siege tank marine push. The siege tanks can get picked off. It gets a little bit tricky, whereas the Goliaths have such range, and they body block very, very well. What, are you going to run in there with Zerglings? No, I mean, the Goliaths are so fat, they're going to block everything.
I'd say they're among the most controllable units for Terran, right?
They're actually a little bit clunky.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, I mean, it's not bad, but yeah, it's not bad. I don't want to complain about it. There's only a couple units that are actually really hard to control as Terran. The SCV and the Valkyrie really are the ones where we're like, what? Like, how do you even
I guess that's true. Most of the units are fairly responsive. For Protoss, it's Dragoons, and Templars are a total headache. DT is very responsive. Zealots are, you know, they do whatever you tell them to do.
Oh, they do more than that.
And then I guess Zerg has the most responsive units, right? If we really think about it, like all the
They're
Zerg
pretty
units,
responsive.
Zerg is probably the most responsive.
Cool.
Then I guess Terran, then probably Protoss, because Reavers also bug out.
Well, here's that push, right? Like, he skipped the first push because he's not really playing against Mutas. This is the second one that actually has siege tanks involved.
Yeah, and that's a real threat to the Hydras here. So some players go into a Mutalisk race where they're going to try to get so many Mutas, even though the Goliaths are the natural counter to air. If Zerg has enough bases, specifically enough gas, then you can have so many Mutas that you'll just roll over the army. But in this case, Zerg went into a very different direction, which was to mass up Hydras. Now, and again, I'm going to be deferring to you here, Artosis. The Terran has ended at Dark Swarm. Is that correct?
Ended? I wouldn't say so. Like, Mech can deal with Hive Tech in various ways, right? Like, siege tanks in siege mode just do, like, pretty well. And then obviously you can get into mines at that point. I think that the tricky part becomes securing your extra bases and then making sure that you can get up to things like Irradiate. Because eventually you want to be buying things that aren't Goliaths. And if you ever lose your Goliaths and you've been buying things that aren't Goliaths and they switch into Mutas, the game will end. Okay. Right? Like, you're going to lose all your tanks, and that's going to be unrecoverable. So you have to kind of skirt that line. And really, I guess, you know, that's part of the reason why Queens got very popular lately is some of these mech builds. Because, again, like, the Goliaths, they don't fare poorly. But as you see the macro really kicking in, the amount of Hydras is so much higher that you really need your siege tanks. Like, without them, you have no chance. Early on, yeah, you can kind of fight. Later on, oh god, it really comes down to that siege tank splash.
Big run through here, actually. And this is a lot of drone kills, man. And the Vulture's completely worth sacrificing to just get a few worker kills. That knocked that down to 4 over at the third base.
So, Modesty is just consistently making his Hydras right now. You can see that Mind is getting ready for possible Hydra drops coming up. Modesty isn't buying anything else. So the right play here is not actually to push as of yet. Just have your supply go up because the mech army will scale much better than the Hydras over time. So we see him getting the starport. I think that what we should be seeing is a second armory and a science facility, just get upgrades and a third command center. And if Mind does that, it puts a lot of pressure on Modesty. Like, what do? You're on 3-base Hydra? It's like, well, you're not going to beat maxed out mech with that, that's for sure.
So does the Terran just try to come out and take a third base here, and then just let the game propel itself into a maxed out play?
Exactly.
And if it does happen, does the Zerg want to then try to rely on drops? Because, one issue with the Terran on 2 base is the Zerg in this spot, it's very hard to really do any damage to the Terran at all.
It's not going to happen.
The Terran, a lot of times, this is one of the great ways to play Terran, is to lock yourself up and start almost playing single player in a sense, and race up and macro up into a push, where the Zerg just kind of has to sit back and wait and play a race of their own.
Yeah, it can get tough, and we saw Mind did exactly what I was talking about there. He's adding a third command center, science facility, and second armory. So he's really identified this. And look, he's even reducing the drone count. This is like Terran mech bread and butter. If you can trade vultures for your opponent's economy while you're actually building up your higher tech gas units, it's beautiful. It's just exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, it's the ideal situation is you stay back, you keep powering up, and the vultures, which are basically expendable. I mean, a vulture costs almost as much as a worker. Think about that. It comes with mines.
50% more, and that's it.
Yeah, it comes with mines. It's fast. It can scout. It can two-shot workers. So if vultures get in there, they're most likely going to pay for themselves and a lot more. And then, of course, your gas, while those vultures are harassing, your gas goes into tanks and Goliaths and other better units. My God, he almost lost that CC there.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised Modesty didn't pounce on that a little bit more, because had he got the CC, that would have equalized everything.
I tell you, that would have been real bad for Mind if he lost that CC. I'm just sitting here, mouth agape, wondering what's going on. Can't be doing that. Okay, so this is a good amount of siege tanks. Now, Modesty has to make some choices here. Is he going to try to jump upon this? Is he going to try to go into Queens? Will he switch up his tech? Is he going to mass expand? He's got to do something, because sitting here going 4-hatch Hydra, that's not the way to win, not against this many siege tanks.
And the Terran's economy and supply and everything has actually exceeded the Zerg's. You can see Zerg is taking more bases now, but I'm getting a little bit worried here. As a few more depots finish up, Terran's going to be rapidly approaching maxed out, especially with all the factories that are now operational in this game. And from there, we're going to have a push. And Hydras are funny in that they can kind of counterattack, but not as well as you would think. They can be thwarted with some well-positioned tanks and mines while the full push is still coming out. It's very different from, like, the Protoss trying to counterattack the Terran, where Zealots and Dragoons are actually incredibly strong until they're fighting a huge number of Terran units.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like this game, Modesty has lost his timing for any queens. It doesn't feel like he can make a giant group of queens and then wait for the energy and then cast Broodling and then wait for the energy again and cast Broodling again and thus gain an advantage. So he's got to do something else. We see the Queen's Nest coming down likely for Hive. Yeah, I feel like Mind is just playing too smartly here. Modesty was really looking for Mind to move out with his initial set of mech units, and he just refused to do so. And the fact that every time these vultures are coming in and massacring drones, not good for our Zerg player.
This has been among the most passive games we've had here at KSL. It's actually, to be honest, about as straightforward of a StarCraft game as you could ask for.
Yeah.
If you had to teach like somebody a game, this is the easiest one to probably show them, is that they're both sitting back, powering up, but one guy keeps sending vultures out, killing a certain number of drones, and the numbers at the top right speak for themselves, 50 supply away from maxing out. Mind is going to eventually be coming out to push and trying to squash the Zerg.
And he will squash the Zerg.
I think so.
Because max out mech. It's the most cost-efficient thing you can get. Look, he's on 2-2 upgrades. My God. Like, he's got 3-3 on the way, even. Things are looking very, very good for our Terran player in Game 1.
Oh, great. Another snipe over there. Now, I think what Zerg's going to set up and do is both a drop and a counterattack. So essentially 2 counterattacks when Terran moves out.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, what is this cluster on the center right? I thought those were Overlords over there. Is that not?
I think it's Overlord Hydra. So
Okay.
it could be for a drop. Obviously, you want to keep some overlords around for mines detecting them. but-
Right. And so the Hive Tech is coming up here. I think we finally do have Hydras, by the way, in the lower left base, albeit pretty
Yeah.
late. But
Well,
good to see him finally get that set up over there because
yeah, it does feel very late. He was waiting in a concave to try to kill the mech when it moved out. But look at what the mech army looks like now.
yeah,
This is
a
absurdly
real
powerful.
threat.
I think you just have to counterattack. There's just, like, there's no way on Earth that these Hydras can beat that army. It is just not going to occur.
What about on the planet that is the map, Eddie? What about
Not there either.
Not there, not on Earth, not on this planet either. I think you're right. I think this is going to be smashing.
This is, yeah. I mean, he's up 50 supply right now, which it's not as big as you would think because Hydras only cost 1 supply. Every mech unit costs 2.
Macro
So there are a
Terrans,
lot.
Macro Terrans all over the world with their arms folded, nodding their heads slowly as this push comes down.
That's basically it. I'm like, yes, mine made the right choices. You wanted a free win there, Modesty, and you didn't get it.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Okay, so the push comes in here now. One of the reasons why this is so strong, and by the way, D-Matrix, so good that Goliath never actually
You
died.
see that? Did he lose any supply? He lost like 6 supply and killed everything.
Yeah. I can't believe the Goliath with D-Matrix still didn't die.
Yeah. I mean, there's just... Well,
GG.
all right.
All right. That's about as straightforward of a game as you can ask for.
That is for sure. Well, I mean, mine just kind of made the right choices. He opened up with a walled-in Goliath build,
Yes.
and there's a lot of different things Modesty could do. He chose to do this build that if Mind were to attack, Modesty would win the game right there.
Yeah.
Mind, I identified what was going on via his vultures running around quite a bit for the most part. That's how he figured it out. And he made the right calls in changing his build up, right? He went into the third command, the double armory, you know, got his upgrades and just waited until his unit composition could not possibly lose. That was very much a game of about 3 decisions and solid macro.
Yeah. You know, also, Zerg doesn't have to go Hydras there, by the way.
Absolutely not.
You
Most
can
people
avoid
do
that.
not.
And a lot of players will go for Mutalisks, and I think it's actually a better approach, a more active approach to the matchup.
It's definitely, you get a lot more play. The Terran will have to move out quite a bit against the Mutas. You'll actually get to move in and see if you can do damage. The Goliath build is not broken. It was broken for like, I don't know, a couple weeks. But
Yeah.
it's a build people do know how to play against. And, well, that's one strat you can try against it, but it's definitely not guaranteed to work.
Okay, so we're going to go to the map Circuit Breakers for game number 2 here. This is a huge map. A lot of different ways to approach this for the Zerg and for the Terran. We're going to have to wait and see what kind of game we're going to have here. But so far, it's Mind up with a 1-0 lead.
Yes, indeed. It's looking good for him in Circuit Breakers. I mean, that's a big map. A lot of Terran players do like it, but obviously it's Modesty's map choice, so it seems like he's feeling comfortable here as well.
I don't think if we have the Goliath build coming here again, Modesty will opt to go for Hydras.
Yeah,
But can you Goliath build on this map?
You can Goliath build on every map, but this map is not nearly as good for it, in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
just,
Seems like
the
it's
map is
too
much
big.
bigger. I think 1-1-1 is better. I think, you know, bioplay is better. Like, yeah, I mean, you can go Goliath build anywhere, but I don't see the point of it here. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could go for it, but if you have 5 maps to play on, why would you do it here?
Yeah.
Do it on a map where it's the strongest, get the free win, and then move on. And I don't know what the deal is. We're still trying to get into this game. So I think we're going to have to buy a little bit more time here at Toast, as it looks like there's some error going on. Hopefully we'll get these guys into the game soon
Yeah.
and get this started.
Well, excited to see what Mind wants to do for his opening here. This is not a map that you wall on, so, again, more likely to see a more
All right.
active play.
We're ready to go. This is game 2. All right, game 2 begins now here. We have Mind in the bottom left. We have Modesty in the top left. They've switched sides of the map, Artosis.
Yeah, they were bored of that right side of the map. Let's see if Modesty expands over to 3 o'clock to make the game even. Okay, so now we wait.
Voices of Legend.
The Marine, one of our commentators here at KSL.
Oh, and there's that code that's going to be stolen by somebody on the internet because it's just.
Hopefully he already typed that in.
Hopefully you already typed that in. Otherwise, guys, you know what to do.
That's cheerful. All right.
Yeah. So, here we are going into this match. We have already Modesty. I think the idea can be pretty good to go Hydras, but he got behind early on enough. There's almost not much more to say about that game. I don't think that game is a good demonstration of where Modesty is as a player. We should have much closer, much more action-packed games here.
Totally.
But sometimes, especially if the Terran is doing a very turtley play, and this can happen to Protoss as well, they just lose enough drones or enough probes. And, yeah, I mean, the push coming out, we should watch and see how that's handled, but a lot more significance needs to be weighed in on the workers that were lost early on. Yeah,
you know, Modesty chose a strategy that didn't give himself a lot of what I like to nowadays call play. It really did come down to waiting for Mind to either make a mistake or not make a mistake. And he just, the thing is, it's okay to have a strategy like that, especially in a best of 5, I would say, in a tournament situation where the pressure's on. It's okay to just be like, I'm going to crush him if he comes out.
Right.
But then when he doesn't come out, I think you got to look at that and say, I shouldn't do that again. You know? Mind is on top of things. He's figuring out what's going on. He's not going to walk into a trap like that, because really a build like that is a trap.
Yes, it very much is. There's some shadows and mirrors at the start, and then suddenly when you realize what direction the game's going on, it's very hard to steer it out of that. Now, this game we had Pool and Gas, and later Hatchery here for Modesty. We still don't know what kind of tech it's going to be.
Yeah, it's likely to be a Mutalisk build. It's very, very common right now. What you do is you get a layer that is unbelievably fast. Like, look at this. We're at like 235, and he's going to start his layer right now. There you go. Layer just started. So that gives you ridiculously quick mutas.
Yeah, this is a race to an engagement. Basically, Modesty really wants to start punching holes into Mind right away. This may be just due to the map and it's all pre-planned, or it might even be a reaction from the last game that we had here where, you know, Modesty was forced to play single player and just wait for this push that did come out and smash him. And then Modesty's Muta Harass is quite good.
Ooh, look at this. Okay, so we have something a little bit different from Mind here. He actually just sent another SCV out. That is actually not super duper common, but I think he just wants to dart in and see exactly what he's up to.
Yeah, I mean, there is always a possibility someone does some kind of a lurker cheese or something like that.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's not good, but these are the things that catch you off guard. If you're not ready for everything, sometimes a very offshoot style of play can end up costing you the game.
Yeah. Seems as if Modesty doesn't really know what's going on that much. He's making a creep right now. Don't feel like you really need that? Well, that's a good catch.
Yeah, good body blocking there.
I mean, every SCV right now has value. They're all very, very important, especially considering there's going to be kind of a fight over them coming up. Now, this is a 1 barracks into Academy. Huh. That's kind of interesting to see the Academy before the second barracks. You don't see that often?
Right.
Because your overall Marine count is going to be so low that if they do not have turret support, you are not going to hold on against the mutas, even if you have medics.
So the SCVs have now been transferred over to the new command center. Now, we understand the idea, I think everybody does, of mutas coming in and harassing in different areas. I think what's not emphasized ever as much is how hard it is for the Terran to deal with the muta harass. It's very frustrating. First of all, you can put all your units on hold position in StarCraft if you don't want them moving around, but a lot of times that's not always the best move. You need your army to basically respond on their own. But Glaives can draw units away. Marines, although they're very strong when they're stimmed as far as damage output, they're very weak when they receive damage. And so Overstibbing becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Medics getting pulled into damaged SCV patches becomes a problem. And then the Marines are not occupied correctly with the medics to heal up.
Yeah.
Also, you need to have your turrets set up in the right spot. Now, that being said, Mutamicro is among the most skilled techniques that you can master in StarCraft 1 as well. But when you're playing against somebody who has just perfect Mutalisk control, it's truly incredible. Or for the Terran, egregious what the Zerg can get away with.
Egregious, that's a good word.
Yes.
Yeah, and you see he's getting his turret, so he knows the timing of all this. He scouted it quickly enough that he realized when he needed to start everything. And look at that, he's getting the turrets up just in the nick of time.
Okay, he does pull away. Now, one thing about the Muta harass is because you can escape back over the high ground, you can attack into these turrets, and oftentimes, just statistically, the turrets end up targeting a Muta that isn't as damaged. So you'll end up seeing these Mutas fly around and continue to take hit after hit after hit. And overall, the entire clump is damaged. Oftentimes, no Mutas killed off, which is another reason why they're so strong in these situations.
Yeah, it takes a while to actually start breaking through that Mutalisk swarm. You'll see that turrets need to be made pretty consistently against this, but he'll be scanning to figure out, are there Mutalisks in production? Is it something else? Oh man, a very strong move from Modesty, actually diving on the mineral line right now, but Mind is there.
Okay, 5 Mutas remaining. He does manage to get out, and I think we're in the twilight of this harass. I don't think there's much more he can do here. We don't have a third base taken yet, but we do have drones coming out on the map.
You know,
now,
it looks like Modesty is going to go really heavy Muta this game. I think he's only producing Mutas, in fact. There's all sorts of different ways you can do this type of 2-hatch play. You can do non-stop Mutas with upgrades. You can Guardian Rush. Obviously, there's all sorts of tech switches with lurkers and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, these Mutas are so weak right now.
Yeah, they're getting bruised, no doubt about that.
Do we have lurker tech up yet?
No, absolutely
we do not, right? Okay, because this is a very economically sparse way to play the game as Zerg.
It is.
It's hard to tech out of this. But the infantry wave is coming. Good dive in there. Does kill one Muta. Can he get another dive? Sometimes you want the Marines to actually click on one Mutalisk.
Yeah, almost every single time. That's exactly what you're looking for, is when they come towards you, stim and run towards them and target a Muta. When they run away, run away. See? Just like that. And, yeah, I mean, there's 4 Mutas that are reasonably damaged, 3 of which are very, very deeply damaged. But he is going to end up losing all of this bio. It is kind of okay because he's drawing the Mutas away a little bit. He's keeping the pressure on. He's forcing Modesty to be out here. And he added 2 more barracks before his tech. So the Marines, I mean, it's always terrible to lose a group, but this has bought him a lot of time to add what he wanted at home.
It's very interesting, the relationship that you have with the Marines at this phase of the game. The only thing I can think of that's sort of comparable is Zealots pressuring a Zerg early on, where you can lose some, but it's kind of okay because you have defense at home anyways, and they weren't making drones if you were attacking out. A lot of the same ideas here, where the pressure's off at your base, your infrastructure's fine. Both players have to be very preoccupied with their unit control. And by the way, he has actually switched into full-on Muta here.
Yeah,
he is not going to back down. He is going to get so many Mutalisks that he intends to smother the Terran. But this is being disguised pretty well here by Modesty so far. He's only showing his 11 Mutas, while the rest are actually hidden on the map here. Actually, I guess he's going to show them now. Yeah. Because he wants to wipe this out.
He's going to wipe it out, too.
Yeah, but when Terran sees this, you immediately know what's happening. By the way, this really highlights the power of glaives.
Yeah, when you see that many Mutas right now as well, yeah, you see this, he's adding some more turrets right now. You need to get into splash damage, and you need more turrets.
Yeah.
Because this is such a commitment that if you can get into something like +1 Valkyries, or you can get into, you know, Science Vessels that radiate, then you can actually just, kind of suddenly win the game. You know, you cast 3-4 radiates on this type of strategy, and it's not having a good time.
Yeah, it seems like this game would have a length of time where you should just be able to win if you can outlast the Muta onslaught here. But now the Mutas are going to come in here. Now, this is just one control group. There's a second one outside, but he is taking out all the turrets. By the way, this structural setup here with the barracks, the fact that it lines the Marines up as they have to move through this ant farm-like shape at the base also favors the Mutas in the engagement. If I'm not mistaken, Artosis, should he just dive in right now and try to kill him? I feel like there's just enough Mutas.
I mean, that's a hard judgment call. He might try something like that, but more turrets are being made during this. Feels like Mind is still alive, that he's not going to die quite yet. But he needs to stay near his turrets. That's for sure.
Going for the bunker here. He does lose about 3 mutas in this process, though. Again, this is designed to break the Terran.
Yeah.
This is designed to put so much pressure, and the damage builds up so much over time. Again, especially with these glaives. The glaives, as they hit their targets, it spreads through, hitting these other structures and other units, and eventually the Terran can get so brittle that they simply put break.
Yeah, I think in this situation, he's like making enough turrets. You can see how seriously he's taking. Look at that, 7 turrets facing that side of his base. I know he has 4 to 5 in the natural already as well. Yeah, look at that, making them in almost random spots because they need to buy time for the Marines to come and help as well.
Yeah, he basically, in a sense, almost wants to overmake turrets.
Yes, yes.
If there's just too many turrets...
In a game like this, you can only overmake and undermake turrets. Those are the
well
only
said.
2 options. There's no perfect number because it gets really crazy at that point.
And if you can get up into a science vessel with a radiate, you're going to win the game, basically.
Yeah, you need... In this game, he's going to need like 3, 4 radiates, and that should be able to end it, I would say.
By the way, I believe we're going to go into Guardian tech here, which actually is not a bad idea because a radiate does not really save the day against Guardians. Guardians very easily split off from each other. Mutas are fast, and they clump together so tightly that it's hard to get the irradiated muta out. And also, a radiate just does a lot of damage to the mutalisks. And so,
well, they're in that flock, so you get like 1,000 damage off of an irradiate, right?
Right,
so it's gigantic. But like you said, a lot of people don't realize that irradiate is not actually really the counter to a Guardian Rush.
No, it's
and
not.
I know that this is kind of delayed. It's not the quickest Guardians that you can get, but you're forcing so many Marines out of your opponent that their tech is very tight trying to get up there. And right now, Mind is only on 1 starport. He only has 1 gas. Like this, I think Guardians could be a very good choice here. It might be the way for Modesty to win this game.
So the mutas are now gathered up outside of this natural, and here's where we're going to see the Guardians come into play. Now, in a funny way, Mind was forced to race into this science vessel to answer to the mutas, but Modesty's about to tech switch out of this very gracefully, and now we have to see if Mind can handle this. Now, this is a game where it can't go on for another 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, either the Guardian Rush is going to work or Terran's going to push out and smash him.
It's kind of like either this push is going to work or the Guardian Rush is going to kill him.
Yes.
I think the closest way to say it. Like, he's nailing this. He's moving out right before the Guardians. He knows that right now Modesty wants to bank gas and go do that. Look at this. Modesty with the counterattack? Really?
Yeah, I don't know about this unless he's got...
No, I guess...
The thing is, his third base isn't in another main with 2 lurkers guarding it on the ramp, so I don't... I mean, the infantry army can just bash through this. So, yeah, the mutas are going to have to come back. Now, if Zerg can win this fight, if he needs to pull this out immediately. Okay, here we go.
I think Modesty will break these Marines.
The science vessel goes down. Well, hold on a second. This is a lot of mutas.
Maybe not.
Oh, wow.
That was a hard one to tell, actually.
No, yeah, it's tricky when you have that many mutas.
Does he have 1-1? He does have 1-1. Wow. And did the mutas not have +1 armor?
No, I believe they only have attack.
That felt better for Mind than I thought it was going to be.
GG,
yeah.
Okay, 2-0 lead. Mind crushing it today.
Yeah, that was a very nice attack. I felt like his Irradiate was a little bit early there. I feel like you want to do that as the battle begins rather than right before, because then it gives him less time to pull it out. But nice attack there from Mind. He played a solid game.
Now, kind of a funny series so far. We've had in one game Modesty go hardcore into Hydra Tech. The second game he goes hardcore into Muta Tech, and both of them Mind shuts him down.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's a one-unit wonder at the moment.
So far he is, yeah.
And the wonder part is wondering if he's ever going to make a second type of unit. We didn't even see Zerglings.
Did you know that there are lurkers in this game?
What do they do?
Nobody knows.
They probably lose to Marines as well, so I don't even care.
Yeah, no defilers, no lurkers, no ultras. Nothing, man.
He's not teching up.
We are having a very intense lock-in to a certain tech here for Modesty, and it is failing as Mind is basically playing a very healthy, clean transitional game that is allowing him to tech into the solution each time.
That's right.
Guys, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, game number 3. Don't go away. Welcome back. We have a 2-0 lead for Mind right now. Mind is crushing it. We had Mass Hydras in Game 1, and then in Game 2 we had Mass Mutas. Neither managed to succeed. Game 1, Mind wins with Mech. Game 2, Mind wins with Bio.
Yeah, I feel like Mind made a lot of great choices throughout. And hold on, what's that?
This is a straw wrapping, but it's my artistic expression of a Muta. Can you kind of see it?
I'm trying.
No, you don't see it? Hold on.
Fix
These
it
are the wings. This is the head. And this is the jaw.
You know what? You're actually an artistic genius. I think Carbots should be afraid of you. And you should actually make your own YouTube channel with all the StarCraft units made out of straw wrappings.
Yeah, and then I get my own skin, and everybody only plays in that because mine's
straw wrapping skin?
Yeah.
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 That's what they have on the StarCraft computer at McDonald's.
So I'm hoping that Modesty has a better game that he can show here, because otherwise we are going to have a 3-0.
Well, I want to see more than these somewhat one-dimensional plays, because once you scout them, things go wrong. If you actually can really figure out, for instance, that your opponent's non-stop making mutas, you do exactly what mine did, which is you move out right before the tech switch, because that's when they're weakest.
Overwatch will be map number 3. This is a great map, by the way. I'm curious to see how the Zerg is going to expand and take a third.
Yeah.
There's actually several locations that can be taken. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the third base, you want to take that at either the upper right or the bottom left.
That's the most common right now in this matchup, yeah.
But of course, you could mix it up and expand somewhere else.
Yeah, it's possible. You have a lot of choices.
Anyways, game is ready. Let's go.
Right. So up in the top left, we have Modesty, a.k.a. Kukulza, which I am told by Tasteless, who's told by someone on the internet.
Someone on Twitter, a good person on Twitter,
said that this is the Mutalisk hero.
Yes, apparently.
It's a great idea then.
Yeah, I actually like this ID now more than Modesty, now that we know the origins. For those of you guys who are confused, if you go into the map editor, you can pick out normal units, but they also have a hero unit for each unit.
How many can you name? That's a great way to spend the early game.
Just Kukulza and Mobo.
Mobo's the greatest.
Mobo, the scout hero.
Yes.
A.k.a. G5.
So the Zergling is the devouring one. The Hydralisk, I believe, is Hunter-Killer.
Oh, what's the Scourge one called?
Oh, I have no idea on that one. But the Overlord is Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil, that's right.
Yeah. And then, obviously, the Terran ones are kind of dumb. It's like, it's like Edmund, Duke, and Raynor or something, right? Aren't those the hero ones for them?
No, I think there's other ones as well.
Oh, there's other ones as well? I don't know them. The Zerg ones are the interesting ones. Those are the ones that are bosses in stupid use map games I used to play.
yeah. I do like the idea of the hero overlord. Did it have any different attributes, or was it just like higher in HP?
It had a ton of health. It had like
Did it have spells or anything?
No.
Longer vision?
You can't do that with the map editor. No.
You can't?
Spells on an overlord? I don't think so.
I think you can, Artosis.
No, I don't think so.
I think you can,
I'm pretty sure I would have played a use map where overlords had spells, and I never did, so.
But you can give any unit any spell in the map editor.
Really?
I
in StarCraft 1?
I think there's a way to, yeah.
When's the last time you were in the map editor?
Yesterday.
There's no way for me to prove you wrong.
Bet you feel stupid now, Artosis.
Wow, I've never been so lied to.
If I'm not sure I'm going to win the argument, I'll go straight to the lie, man. I play dirty.
My God.
So it's going to be Command Center first. Now, this, of course, is risky, in case you're wondering, but why not take a risk if you're up 2-0?
Yeah, and it's a fully wallable map with a Ling-Tight wall. So the odds of a Zergling rush are so much lower. So if you're going to wall, you may as well do this.
And so...
Yeah, and it's going to work out without any problem. Like, this is going to give Mind a nice advantage.
Modesty's going to be very sad about this.
Yeah.
Because you see this, and it's already too late. They've pulled the caper off.
His third glaive is going to be just a single tier.
Yes. The Overlord, as he scouts at a single tier, comes down. He knows his
All the
boy
way down his
Modesty.
tentacle.
Yes.
Light finds a way.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So a good scout here, just kind of seeing the timing of the layer overall. He's going to know exactly when he needs to get his turrets done. It's one of the most important things.
And so, Terran, I believe and please correct me if I'm wrong, because again, this is the matchup that I think I'm the most out of my depth on for both races, basically. But you can mech or go bio from here, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You can absolutely go into a Goliath build here, or you can go up into bio right away.
Is there one that you would prefer?
I think based on the timing of that layer, I really wouldn't mind seeing him go into a Goliath build. I think it would be a nice play here. You're going to protect your depots at the front a little bit better as well. I guess we'll see in a second if he throws down that factory or not.
And so, as we were mentioning earlier, guys, inevitably, the Zerg needs to take a third. Now, in the last game, we should note that the Zerg expanded to 12 o'clock, which is actually not a secure location at all in a standard TVZ. But in this game, I think we can't have that same kind of play. I think it's going to have to be an expansion to the up right or the bottom left. Now, the idea is that you get, 2 to 3 lurkers on the ramp, and a bio army can't push that. Marines are so brittle that 2 lurker shots connecting with them will kill everything before heal can even do anything.
Yeah.
And so that means any location where you just have 1 ramp access into the expansion, you can secure with 2 lurkers and manage the game. But we saw in the other game, he expanded just to an open area where Marines can hit from multiple sides. That being said, he never went into lurker defense. Instead, he went full-on Muta in a smothering play that did not work.
Yeah. I don't think he'll do that same thing here.
I agree.
I would really like to see him take his third base relatively soon here and, transition out, whether that's into lurkers, maybe he tries one of these Ultralisk builds that are somewhat popular at the moment. But Mind over on the other side, he's adding the second rack, so he's going straight into his regular bio play.
So we've got more and more mutas coming out now. As you can see, this syncs up very perfectly. Both Terran and Zerg have really mapped this build out down to a T. So the turrets have to be sprinkled on the defense in a very specific way. You have to make sure that the mutas can't come in and start to snowball and do damage. Historically, we had a lot of Terrans actually just die to the Muta Rush.
Yeah.
There was a whole period in the game when players actually figured out Muta Micro perfectly, that you would just watch a Terran slowly get chipped away at until eventually they had to fall over.
Yeah, it's, obviously micro, like the Marine micro lags behind what the Mutalisk micro is because it's reactive micro.
Yeah.
You have to micro based on what your opponent is microing. So it's like they got to get good at that, and then you start to get good, and then they get counter, and then you get a counter. Nowadays, it's quite figured out, so you normally don't see people die to Mutalisks. Straight up, it can occur, though. If you overextend at all, or your turrets are late at all, those are definitely ways that you can just fall over and die.
Okay, so these mutas are actually now in the back here, but the Marines are spread out enough. It looks like you can just pick them off one by one. One muta does go down. Really nicely done here by Modesty. He came in there, did a lot of damage. These mutas are going to regroup with the new mutas that have hatched out here. And we might need to see a few more turrets go down here, but the army movement here from Mind is actually quite good. He's really getting out in front before these mutas can do too much damage.
He doesn't want to let him back there.
Oh, man. Actually, this is going to be bad for Modesty now. I didn't think he was going to loop all the way around. I thought he might try to come in there and pop off a few more shots. But now these mutas can't get out without taking even more damage. And it's down to, what, 6 mutas? I'm so surprised more have not been killed off. Okay, now down to 5.
Definitely a little bit painful right there. Modesty just continually is making Mutalisks right now. He has killed a lot of SCVs, so that is something. But Mind's job is very simple here. Produce Marines, SCVs, and turrets.
Yeah. Yeah, the Marines, they go down, but you just continue to make them, right? It's not like if you lose a science vessel, there's no key unit that gets picked off that's a big deal. It's more just one trade, well, I guess on both sides, each player trying to out-trade each other, so to speak. There truly is an art to when you dive in and what you're going to target. For instance, that last attack we saw in there didn't actually benefit Modesty at all. He just damaged a turret and then that got repaired. But a play like that where he assassinates one SCV is good, but he did lose a Mutalisk in the process.
Yeah, it's quite painful. And, you're right as well. Like, you're supposed to kind of randomize where you're flying in a little bit. You don't want it to be completely predictable, because then they can just kind of mirror what you're going to do. We don't see Modesty getting that much damage anymore. The times he went up behind the mineral lines, he definitely picked off a decent amount of Marines. But this is looking good for Mind right now, I would say.
Okay. The expansion's being taken. It's not in the upper right or the bottom left. It's actually at 12 o'clock this time. So
yeah,
that is a pushable location.
Yeah, I think that well, that expansion, I think, points towards no switch into lurkers or anything like that. It's more likely to stay pure Muta or maybe go into Guardian.
Oh my god, 2 snipes on these Mutas is huge.
Yeah.
And more Marines coming in now.
Yeah, adding the more medics as well. Just really good micro from Mind.
Another Muta bites the dust here. Mind is playing so well. So much better, actually, than I've seen in the past. What do you think about Modesty once again going for mass Mutas this time?
Like, he loves Mutalist plays, so I don't mind it, but I want to see him have a transition, you know, not just Mutas, because while you'll beat a certain amount of Terrans like this, I don't feel like Mind is one of them. Like, he knows enough not to overcommit out on the map. He makes enough turrets because he's consistently teching up towards what he needs.
You know, this is one of those play styles where everybody's experienced it, but the way to beat it is to simply outlast it. If you can outlast it, then you're going to be fine. Now here we have, again, he's going to come in here. Now this I don't think is a wise decision.
It's an interesting one. Slows the starport a bit, kills 3-4 SCVs.
I'm actually shocked there's not just 1 or 2 more turrets in the main that would force the Mutas to actually have to give up a position here, you know? 1 or 2 turrets just tucked into the upper right would have stopped these Mutas. If the Mutas loop through again, then they're going to eat so much damage. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, I mean, he's picked off that turret at the depots. He hasn't even been able to pick off those depots as of yet. Obviously, his gas supply is very, very nice right now. So maybe, you know, he can rebuild this flock and get that damage done. But I don't see him gaining any ground is the problem.
Okay, again, Modesty comes forward now with more and more. Now, let's go back to that last game. What did we see there? We saw what looked to be Guardian tech inbound, but the Terran did get the Science Vessel out, got an Irradiate, and eventually with 1-1 upgrades managed to push through before the Guardians could even be a factor. Are we going to have the same thing this time around?
Well, this is actually quite a bit quicker, this Queen's Nest. I feel like it's about 2 minutes quicker even. I didn't really try to memorize that last game, but it's reasonably quicker, and we see the science facilities only on the way right now. So,
and it also seems like Mind is getting the science facility at the same time as he did the last game. It's like Zerg's playing an altered version of this. And Terran is actually basically just doing the same thing as the last game, except Terran had a slightly better opening.
Yeah, I think you're basically right on that. And we see that Modesty also got his +1 care pace as opposed to attack, which I think really, really, really helps. The attack is good for harassment, but if you have to actually fight Marines, that armor is so important.
Okay, I'm actually surprised that Zerg's actually holding this ground as much as he is back there, but we saw a few more Mutas picked off. And is Zerg going to try to dive into the main?
Yeah, I think he's trying to possibly intercept anything like a vessel that comes out. If he could do something like that, this game would get within his reach, I think. But there's so many turrets for Mind. He's looking very strong right now. That Hive should be finishing up pretty soon.
And so he's going to try to come out now once more. It's hard to morph the Guardians without tipping your hand here, because if the Mutas are here, then they're not morphing, right? So the moment that you see the Mutas disappear and they're off the map, then you know something's happening, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
And that something is Guardians. So let's see how he handles it this time around.
Okay, he does have that vessel out. We'll have an Irradiate very, very soon here.
Greater Spire's done, right? It has to be.
No, it's actually not done. Like, the Hive is done, but we haven't actually gotten a shot of the Greater Spire starting, and even if it started, it shouldn't be quite done yet, but getting close.
Okay. Yeah, good call there. But again, the push is coming out. Terran is free on the map. A Vessel's here as well. And right now, Modesty is just hemorrhaging so many Mutalisks.
Yeah.
Am I correct in that there's something like 6 or 8 Mutas in this game right now?
Well, right there, but he should have a lot at home.
He should have.
On 3 gases, you can make 9 Mutas a minute. So He could
Damn.
have quite a few, but you've got to bank some up too.
GG.
Okay, yeah.
Tap out.
Very similar to game number 1. Very, very similar.
Well, I'll guarantee you guys something. The rest of our series are going to be better than that game.
Yeah. Modesty going really hard with those strats, but mine just not having any of it. Well done.
All right. A win for Terrans.
Yeah, that's
Winning
nice.
in the most Terran-ish way.
That gives us 2 Terrans in the round of 8, which means our Terran in the round of 4 because it's Light versus Mind.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That means I get to cast TVT tomorrow.
Artosis.
Times are good.
Christmas came early.
It certainly did.
Okay, Modesty with some disappointing play, really leaning into that mass muta play, which for Mind, you can see he has a very good handle on it. He defends, he gets his army out a little bit on the middle of the map to try to draw some attention away from the infrastructure at his base. Techs into Vessel, techs into 1-1, and just plows through the Zerg. Easy peasy.
Yeah, super well done. Well, good for him. That's going to be actually a really fun TVT. Both Light and Mind are quite good at TVT. So that gives us a sick round right there.
Yeah, so Mind is our first victor of the day. Let me check my phone here. What time is it? So, just so you guys understand, we do have more games today, but this is on a much more staggered schedule. And so it's 4:11 right now here in Korea. The next game will start at 5 o'clock sharp.
Yeah. So we've got about 45-ish minutes from when we go to commercial to when we get into that next series. The next series, though, is very, very good, right? Isn't that the Saxory best one? Is next?
Should be, yeah. I believe you're correct. So, guys, we're going to be showing a quick highlight here in a minute. But, yeah, eventually we're going to be going to a break. If I were you, I'd queue up another game. Play some StarCraft.
Get on that ladder.
Lose, get angry, get your notebook out where you take your notes, write down why you messed up, and then get ready to study some more. We're going to be here all day, going on through into the night.
Yeah. You know, that's something that I did for a long time, but it turned into a manifesto against Protoss.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Pretty good.
It's good to be back here
I'm
with you.
doing my most interesting man in the world lean in right now.
How much do you slouch down when we're casting?
When we're casting, I'm laying on the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Making
how much.
snow angels.
I turn into
spine play.
a slippery invertebrate when we're casting.
You're a slippery invertebrate when you play TVP, Artosis. Let me just tell you that right now.
But when we go on camera, straight up, they call me Giraffe Man.
You have quite the neck. Have I ever told you that, Artosis? You have a very long neck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You
That's the
balance
nicest
me
thing you
out
ever
as
said to
I
me.
don't have much of a neck.
No.
I have Bernie Sanders' head where my head's like
Yeah,
kinda
your
down like
neck
that.
is mostly beard. And I don't mean in the good way, friend.
I got to say, that series was a little bit disappointing.
It was.
Game-wise,
I was
that
actually
was honest. I mean, no disrespect to the two players, but TVP or TVZ, excuse me, can be so much more than that.
It was nice from a Terran point of view because Mind really put on a clinic of how to stomp down some of these build orders.
Yeah.
So that's like useful and that's good to see as a Terran player, but I felt like the thing is this it's a legitimate strat. All the strats that Modesty use are legitimate strats, but they just don't add any real complexity to the game. It turns into a bunch of yes/no questions as well as testing your micro. Like there's not a whole lot of other things going on. It's not like you're setting any traps during the game, making any big tactical moves. You're just flying around your Mutalisks and hoping your opponent screws something up.
I'm so surprised that he did that 2 times in a row in a best of 5.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'm fine with people doing it in one game. You could do all sorts of crazy stuff in a series, but to do it like that, and then he basically lost in almost the exact same fashion.
Well, mine was especially ready for that. I normally see Terrans go for tech on 3 racks, but he actually forcefully went to 4 racks each time and skipped the natural gas. Didn't get over greedy on getting too many vessels out. You literally only needed 1 because he did get up to that 1-1 that you were talking about as well. So very, very well done from Mind as well. I think that even though it looked weird to us what Modesty did, he would have beaten a lot of top-tier Terrans with it.
Oh, sure. It looks bad when it's stopped.
Yeah.
Certain strategies really look like you should never
Yeah.
try them,
Some of
but
them
when you
fall
see them
flat.
actually work. But I mean, if you're a certain rank or a certain skill as far as control goes, or just being able to keep up in StarCraft, and so much of this game is just being able to keep up, you will get rolled by that mass meta play. So very strong, but definitely a questionable decision to do it again in Game 3 after it failed so clearly in Game 2.
Yeah, I think Overwatch is a slightly better map for it than Circuit Breakers, to be fair, but...
I wonder what it motivated him to even do that on Circuit Breakers to begin with. Circuit Breakers...
I think it might have been the vertical spawns.
If you're in... Yeah, but I mean, if you're in those spots, you can take another main and cover that with lurkers and really go into late game.
That's not really his style as much, though, I think is the problem.
Yeah, but... You know, when we really have the best Zergs, they can do all the styles.
Yeah.
That's why they're so good. I mean,
Sulky's in the military, sorry.
Yeah. Flash can do a 2-factory build against Protoss or do a CC first build, right? And he's perfect at both of them. It's why he's the best player. But, yeah, even if it doesn't suit your skill, you probably need to then learn those techniques so that you can play a solid macro game on a map like that. Because I think that was a bad build order pick. You know, there is a method to this that because the strategy doesn't make sense on that map, sometimes it is good because a good player might discount it. I don't know. Guys, we're going to go to a break. We'll be back in about 40 minutes. We will see you then.